Welcome to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. With me is Justin Elick at Big Italy 42. Checking out pitching on tonight's Monday slate. Bigger than usual Monday slate. We got 12 games. It doesn't bring us a ton of pitching options. I mean, we got Lance McCullers at home, but outside of that, I mean, it's tough to kind of narrow down an SP2 that I really actually am comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's looking at Vegas odds in itself just tells you right there. McCullers is the guy you play in cash games, and it's really not close. I mean, he's what, minus 235 favorite. He's coming off, I guess, his worst start of the season last time out against Toronto. But either way, I mean, by far and not even close, the highest strikeout rate of all these guys tonight. His main issue is, sometimes has struggles with command, and he doesn't pitch deep into games. But, I mean, he's got the best offensive baseball behind him. He's a huge favorite. And, I mean, that strikeout floor in itself tells you that in this matchup in particular, like, I mean, he went 5 innings against these guys, 2-3 weeks ago, 8 strikeouts, 1 run, and still got over 40 FanDuel points. So, and he's the second most expensive guy. Like, I don't understand how John Lester is more expensive than him on FanDuel.
Yeah, I don't get that either. I mean, DraftKings, obviously, I think they got it right with his pricing. And, I don't think it's impossible to fit him in and still fit in, big bats, which there's a ton of on this slate because SP2-wise, you and I were talking. I mean, I'm in agreement. McCullers is the number one guy tonight. But after that, I mean, John Lester's there. You and I both kind of in agreement that John Lester really hasn't been the same this year. I can't really get behind them against Atlanta. I know they're not good against lefties, but they still just don't strike out a ton. I still don't like that ballpark either. So I don't know. I just think it's another one of those nights where I'm just going to be kind of staying away from Lester.
Yeah, I mean, over the last month, John Lester's got a 2.19 home runs per 9, 1.46 whip. I mean, he's got some scary numbers, and he's given up way too many base runners. And like you said, that ballpark, a lot of guys in that lineup that, I mean, can hit lefties. Matt Kemp used to hit lefties. I guess he doesn't really do it anymore. But he just hasn't been good recently. Like, strikeout upside, I guess, has been there. He had that good game against the Mets. So, I mean, I don't doubt that he could go out and put up a good outing today, but I don't have any interest tonight. I'm willing to be wrong on that one.
I am too. If he was like $1,000 cheaper, it would draw my interest. But the fact that he's like 9,800 on DK, I don't like that. And as you mentioned, he's more expensive than McCullers on FanDuel. I just don't like it. I mean, you look at the Braves against lefties. I mean, this is a team that they don't strike out. 19% on the season. I still think this offense is just 1 through 9 really tough to get through. And you have a lot of platoon guys, like, as you said, Kemp, but whoever's behind the dish, Kurt Suzuki, Tyler Flowers hit lefties well. Dansby Swanson's not an automatic out like he is against righties. So I don't think it's a bad lineup, and I just don't think, in this heat in the South and the humidity that Lester's going to get through it easily.
Yeah, I mean, they're 9th in WOBA against lefties. It's not a spot where I like Lester. I'm not a huge Lester fan to begin with anyway.
So I think this is just the kind of decline of Lester moving forward.
Yeah, I think his ownership tonight is going to be kind of by default the fact that, he's a name and he's pricey and, really even with the Coors game, you got the Padres there, so their prices are elevated, but reasonably so, at least on FanDuel. So you can still get pretty much any pitcher you want. I mean, it's not difficult. So you don't need to force in a guy like Lester. And I'm complete fade tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Moving forward, I mean, moving kind of down the list, Adam Wainwright, a guy he's tough to figure out, man. It's just the times I think he's going to blow up, he doesn't. The times I think he's going to pitch a good game, he doesn't. So I can't get on the right side of Wainwright, whether it's picking on him or pitching him.
Yeah, I've been kind of the same way too, but the thing that kind of got me on him is I know 3 of his last 7 starts, he's given up 6, 9, and 9 runs. But looking at the recent form for these guys, the last 30 days, 3rd highest strikeout rate, 25%. One of the better walk rates of 4.3%. Been getting kind of lucky, though, is left on base percentage, 55%. But this is another one of those times we always talk about how numbers like ERA are complete garbage. He's got a 6.4 ERA, but 3.12 xFIP over the last 30 days. So been getting a little bit unlucky. Just pitched well against the Mets last time out. Maybe that means that, the Mets figure him out a little bit more this time, but it's not like Adam Wainwright is a new pitcher. I mean, most of those guys have seen him multiple times before. So, I think as far as pitching options go tonight, talent-wise, he's one of the three most talented pitchers on the board, even though he's about 100 years old now. So I don't like it, but I still think he's by default one of the better options tonight.
Yeah, I don't mind him. You look at the Mets. I think the run total was up around 5 last time I saw last night, and it's kind of trickling down as the day goes on. So that's good to see. Citi Field, I mean, pretty neutral this time of the year. We actually saw that offense kind of explode over the weekend against Colorado. But I'm with you. I mean, Wainwright's usually a guy I worry about on the road. Do I worry about him that much in Citi Field? Probably not. Cespedes is questionable. It's a lineup where I think, especially in the back half, I mean, you get Wheeler, Reyes, Duda. I like Duda, but TJ Rivera, Reyes, D'Arnaud, those are guys that do have some strikeouts in there for Wainwright to get. And if he's got the curveball working, I mean, I think the strikeout upside is probably about 6 or 7, which on this slate is, it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, really looking at over the last, the 10th highest strikeout rate among 24 pitchers tonight over the last 30 days is Zach Wheeler with 19.6%. I mean, there's no strikeout upside here. So really, that's what I'm looking for here. Even if he gives up a couple runs, he gets you 6, 7 strikeouts, he could still be, one of the better plays tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he kind of grades out second behind McCullers for me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Talk about this Toronto-Boston game. Marcus Stroman taking on Eduardo Rodriguez. Vegas has this one about a 5 implied total for both teams in Fenway. I could see this one kind of being dragged out a little bit, like a 5-3 game, and you just kind of got to be on the right side of it.
Yeah, and it seems like one of those. We always talk about how the Cubs always seem to have a high team total. The Red Sox do too, but they don't often score a lot. I mean, what is it? The last 3 games, all they alternated shutouts yesterday. But I mean, they've also played 16 innings Friday or Saturday night, 18 innings yesterday. So maybe we see a guy or two sit out of this lineup just to rest. I mean, I know most of them are young, but either way, I mean, these guys are playing a ton of innings over this weekend. So, fatigue could be a factor. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. But either way, I mean, Stroman's a guy who does a really, really good job of limiting damage. We're talking about guys with strikeout upside, but, between he and McCullers, both guys among tonight's slate, I'll say, are top 5 strikeout potential. And also, both guys keep the ball on the ground at an elite level. I mean, both over 60% this year, and the drop off past Stroman to everybody else, next highest is 49%, 48, 47. So, I think tonight targeting guys that can keep the ball on the ground and limit damage is kind of going to be key because, Vegas is expecting a ton of runs across the board tonight. And I think Toronto-Boston might be one of those games that kind of disappoints you on the offensive end.
Yeah, I'm with you. Stroman, like you said, the 61% ground ball rate, 20% strikeout rate. I mean, you always look at those numbers and think he's either getting strikeouts or he's rolling ground balls 80% of the time. That's what you're kind of after. So I like him. I think the price kind of fits him. It turns 8,900 on DK. I think DK is the only place I would actually look to use him. I don't know if I can use him on FanDuel, but I don't mind him. I don't mind the other side of it if you want to take a big risk because look at this Blue Jays team. I mean, I think Donaldson, obviously Justin Smoke are 2 of the guys to look out. Some of these other guys, Tulowitzki's fallen off. Jose Bautista's more reverse splits. Russell Martin is as well. There's 3 bats I'm worried about. I think Eduardo Rodriguez dodges those guys. He can actually have a decent outing.
Yeah, and if this was 2 years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation because we'd say Eduardo Rodriguez is an average lefty, which he was at the time, and the Blue Jays kill lefties. But, I mean, they're exactly average this year. They're, 15th in WOBA, 314 WOBA, 153 ISO is okay. 10% walk rate's pretty good for them, but 21%. I mean, they're just very average against lefties now, which, is kind of one of those spots where I don't really worry about it. I mean, he's got a decent amount of history against these guys. And I mean, Donaldson's 1 for 13 against him. Bautista's 3 for 13 against him. Morales 2 for 10. I mean, I'm not trying to read too much into the BVP, but it's not like they've never seen this guy. And I mean, he's had some success against them. So I still think there's that. I guess it's not a misconceived notion, but the Blue Jays aren't good against lefties anymore. They're average. Like Donaldson is the one guy that I'll single out and say, I want to play this guy against a lefty. But outside of that, it's just another team.
And you look, I mean, before the injury, he was really strong. Like he was going at least 6 innings, and all of his starts outside of his last one against Baltimore, he really fell off. Fly ball pitcher, which you worry about a little bit, but I mean, before that last game against Baltimore, he kept everything pretty much in the yard. I think this is one of those nights where he can go out, get 6 innings. Sure, he may gave up 2 to 3 earned runs, but his last start against against Toronto, I mean, he had the strikeouts working. Just lost it, but he hit about 8 or 9 strikeouts in that start, and I think there is potential here just because Toronto still does strike out quite a bit against lefties. 21.5%, I mean, a bit above average.
Yeah, and I mean, the encouraging thing since he's coming off the DL, that whole misconception that the Blue Jays kill lefties still. I mean, he threw 94 pitches in that rehab start his last time out, so I haven't seen anything about a pitch count, and you imagine there wouldn't be because I don't know why you were throwing 94 pitches in a rehab start if they're going to take it easy in a game that matters. So. Yeah. You got to imagine he's got the full leash on this one. So I think he could be like the sneaky tournament play that's 5% owned that could kind of be a difference maker. Because I mean, McCullers is going to take up 60% of ownership. So if McCullers blows up for whatever reason, doesn't do well, has command issues, then you're going to need to find one of these guys. And I agree with you. I think he could be that guy.
Yeah, he's a sneaky, high risk, high reward guy in tournaments that I'll be looking at. We kind of hit the big drop off in terms of pricing. We get a lot of cheap guys. This is kind of where I think it's going to separate tonight's slate because there's so many offenses that I want to pay up for. You got Houston, you got Coors. So, I mean, I think finding that SP2 or finding that cheap, single bullet FanDuel guy is going to be key. I know you're looking. Brent Suter is a guy from Milwaukee. He's pitched pretty well so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's only had 2 starts, but in those 2 starts, I mean, tough matchups. Baltimore at home in Milwaukee, 8 strikeouts, 4 hits, 1 walk over 6 innings. At New York, we know that's a tough spot. 5 hits, 1 walk, 5 Ks, 2 earned. Quality start both times. Now all of a sudden after pitching in Milwaukee and at New York, I mean, now he's in Pittsburgh, so he's got huge park upgrade, facing an offense that's really just average. Another one of those average teams against lefties, really even below average. Again, they don't strike out a ton. They walk a decent amount. But looking back at Suter's numbers, in his short time in the majors, had a little bit of time last year. But even throughout his time in the minors, he really hasn't had any issues with walks. I mean, his highest walk rate was, over 83 innings in 2015 in AA, 3.58. But most recent time in AAA, I mean, over 110 innings in 2016, 1.14 per 9, 2017 and 36 inning, 1.96. So if the big draw for the Pirates is the fact that they can draw walks, but he pounds the strike zone. I mean, they don't hit a lot of home runs at the ballpark. So I think he's in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I like him here. I mean, I just think this time of year, like I'm not going to completely ignore Vegas, but I'm going to ignore him at some points. I'm just not buying a near 5-run total for Pittsburgh here.
Yeah.
You look at some of these guys. McCutcheon's probably the right-handed bat you really are concerned about. In this ballpark, I'm still not all that worried. As you said, just PNC plays really big even this time of year. This game is pretty close to a pick 'em. I mean, he's a small 109 underdog, but I mean, Chad Kuhl, I mean, this is a guy who can blow up at any time. He's been worse off in Pittsburgh than he has on the road, which I find weird.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I don't know. All the factors are kind of there. It's not like Suter's some great prospect. I think he's 27 years old. So, he's 27, and he was a 31st round pick. So it's not like this guy's going to come in and just be Jake Faria all of a sudden. But with that said, I mean, like we said, everything, ballpark, good matchup, everything kind of in his favor here. I mean, 6,600, 62 on DK. I think I'm willing to take the risk on him because, I mean, you look at the other options around there. You got a reliever converted into a starter. Brian Mitchell probably won't pitch deep. Tom Kohler, good matchup, but no thanks. Then you got Coors guys. You got Daniel Gossett. I mean, I think he's easily the only option that I like down there for cheap.
Yeah, Gossett, you brought me on. I think it was the start against Houston, his second start. He pitched pretty well. I roll with him the next time out, and then after that, if you're kind of one start too late, he's been bad his last 3. I think this is a game that's interesting because Rays and A's are 2 of the highest strikeout rate teams in the majors, and I want to like Odorizzi. His recent form is the only thing that's been just completely scaring me off. Ton of hard contact, ton of fly balls against an Oakland team that, top 5 in power against right-handers. The strikeout rates there, I mean, Odorizzi is still missing bats. Look at his swing strike rate. It's been pretty solid this year, 11.1%, which is top 5 on the slate. So he might be a guy I toss in 1 or 2 GPPs, but he's also a guy I'm going to be making a hedge stack against with Oakland.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there because, like the Oakland team they're pretty much all boom or bust, all power. I mean, they kind of did play a little small ball yesterday, but that's because Trevor Bauer doesn't know how to throw strikes. So that's kind of a different situation there. But like you said, hard contact, third highest on the slate of any pitcher tonight. But that some strikeout upside is there. It is a big ballpark, so I don't know. I'm on the fence there. But, I mean, if you're going with a guy in that middle range, I mean, it makes sense to target a team that strikes out a ton like Oakland because strikeouts are going to be at a premium tonight.
Yeah, they are. And he's been about a strikeout per inning guy, this season. And, well, there's sometimes he only goes 4 innings because he's given up 6 earned. But that's kind of what you're going to get out of him here. It's high risk, high reward. But I just don't see the strikeout upside for some of these other guys. I mean, Tomlin, Matt Moore, good ballpark, but that's really the only thing that's going for those 2 guys.
Yeah, they're both absolutely terrible. They suck.
Yeah, I don't want any part of it. So, kind of recap here, McCullers is the guy that we're looking at. GPPs, I think you can look at Wainwright. But as far as the mid-range guys, I mean, is there anyone that you feel safe enough using cash or cheap enough guys? Is Suter cash game for you on SP2 if you want to stack bats?
I mean, I think he is. He's – I know it's been 2 starts, but 22% hard contact rate. I just like – if I'm going to go with a cheap guy, it's a guy that's got good command. And then it seems like even if he doesn't really have as much strikeout upside as it seemed he does, because I don't think he's 30% strikeout. It's not going to happen. But, good ballpark. He's throwing strikes. That's what you want. I mean, if he gets hit hard, he gets hit hard. But, you give yourself a chance to pitch into the 6th inning, get yourself that quality start. So, I mean, for me, I'm fine with him paired with McCullers and cash because I honestly don't feel safe about any of these other guys. I like a lot of them for GPPs, but safety-wise, I might as well go cheap, get myself the big bats in case he gets hit.
That's what I'm in the same thought process just because it's like, you know what? If his floor is 10, I'm fine with that at 6,200. If he gets me 10, I'm going to rely on my bats to kind of get me out of that hole and rely on my colors to kind of get that 25 plus and, keep things rolling. So all these other guys, I mean, we've seen Lester, we've seen Stroman have bad games, we've seen Wainwright have bad games. I'm not going to argue that their floor is supremely high tonight.
No, I don't think anybody has a particularly great floor outside of McCullers. And even his, is not what we necessarily want for an ace on the slate.
Yeah. So if you had to pick one starter who's going to have the most strikeouts that's not named McCullers, who do you got?
It's not McCullers?
Yeah.
I'll go Eddie Rodriguez.
I like that. I'm going to go Odorizzi, but maybe he gives up 4 bombs as well.
Grom gave up 4 homers in a game a week ago, and he still had, 8 or 9 Ks in that one?
He's going to go all nuclear roosh and just go 5 innings, 5 strikeouts, 5 earned runs, 5 walks.
He's going to do the old Aaron Harang, give up 6 earned runs, but get 9 strikeouts in 4 innings.
Oh, man.
That'll cancel out, right? He'll get more than 0.
All right. Let's wrap it up here. Good luck tonight. You can head over to datafantasycafe.com. Check out great tools and content.